Welcome to our 8th week of Hebrew, and this will be our 7th quiz. So what you'll look for is week 8 and quiz 7. I'll post the quiz later tonight, and today is Thursday. I'm sorry about being so late, but I have another job, and so I'm going as fast and as hard as I can. I just hope it hasn't inconvenienced anyone. This is going to be a relatively simple week because the only thing that we're doing this week is introducing the idea of Hebrew verbs. But now, while this week is very simple, the foundational information that you'll get in this week is foundational for everything that will come, not only throughout the rest of this semester, but for your second semester as well. So it's imperative that you really put forth the effort to know and be familiar with this material, as well as be reviewed and caught up with material from the previous weeks. Now, there are 7 verbal stems in Hebrew. One is basic, and that's the cow. 70 or even maybe more than 70% of all Hebrew verbs will be in the cow stem, and only 30% in the remaining stems. So your knowledge and memorization of the cow is imperative, to say the least. So the cow is the most common, being used more than 70% of all instances when you see a verb in your Hebrew Old Testament. The cow is simple, active. Cow verbs are primarily active in voice, and the cow stem exhibits just a very simple action. And let me pull out my book here so I can give you some examples of that. Let's see. In the cow, again, it's going to be your simple action. It's going to be he heard, she walked, they cried. It's going to be just the simple action. Then the nafal is going to be passive or reflexive. The nafal is the passive or reflexive of the cow, and it's used to express simple action with either a passive or a reflexive voice. He was heard. She has cried. They have shopped. I couldn't think of a better word there. I don't think you'll find shop in Hebrew, but you get the idea. It's a passive or reflexive voice. Then with the PL is intensive active. The PL stem is sometimes used to express an intensive kind of action. He smashed into pieces. In the cow, it would be he broke. But then in the PL, it would be he smashed into pieces, which shows a more aggressive form of action. Then the pual is going to be the passive of the PL. The pual stem is used to express an intensive type of action with a passive voice. It was smashed to pieces would be the example. Then with the hifil stem is used to express causative action with an active voice. He made king. And the hofal is the causative passive. It's the passive of the hifil. And the hofal stem is used to express causative action with a passive voice. He was made king. And then the hifpal is the reflexive. It's used to express an intensive type of action with a reflexive or passive voice. He hid himself. She cleansed herself. So it's going to have that reflexive type of action. Now, right now, just to have a basic familiarity with those stems, those verbal stems, and how they translate is important, but it's not nearly as important as what you'll find on page 132, the classification of weak verbal roots. Now, strong Hebrew verbs are wonderful. They're easy to predict. They're easy to decline. They're easy to translate. But then when you get into the weak verbal roots, then you're opening up all kinds of changes and transitions in the basic rules. But before we get to that, just like there's 7 verbs, there are 8 conjugations of that verb. There's the perfect. The perfect conjugation is used to express completed action or state of being. There's the imperfect. It's used to express incomplete action. Then there's the imperative. It's the imperative, the cohortive, and the jussive, and those are all considered to be imperatives, are volitional conjugations, meaning they're used to express some sort of wish, desire, or command. Then you have the cohortive. The second volitional conjugation is used much like the imperative to express a wish, request, or command. It's also used to express a purpose. And then there's the jussive conjugation. It's also used to express either some type of mild command or strong wish. Then there's the infinitive construct. Now, these are fun. An infinitive is a verbal noun. In Hebrew, there's two types of infinitive forms. There's the infinitive construct and the infinitive absolute. The infinitive construct can function like an English infinitive, usually translated with the preposition to plus a verb: to study, to learn, to walk, to think. Like a noun, it can be used as the subject. To study is hard work, or the object of a verb: I want to study. Can also be used in a number of other ways, and that'll all be detailed for you next semester. Then there's the infinitive absolute. The Hebrew infinitive absolute has no real English counterpart. It can be used in conjunction with other verbs to emphasize or intensify the verbal action. It can also be used in place of an imperative to express a command. And then there's the participle. I think the participles are my favorites. A participle is a verbal adjective, and it's used as both a verbal, and it has both verbal and adjectival characteristics. Verbally, it expresses some type of verbal action: studying, learning, thinking, walking, building. Adjectively, it's used much like a Hebrew adjective, attributively, predicatively, or substantively. And the thing for you to really focus on right now is looking at those weak verbal forms, and you'll find those again on page 132. Whenever you have a guttural in the first or second position, it makes it weak. Whenever you have a het or an ayin or an aleph or a hey in the third position, it makes the verb weak. Whenever you have a yod or a noon in the first position, it makes it weak and changes all the rules. And then if it's doubly weak, meaning that it has a guttural in more than one spot, yes, those do happen, that creates even more changes. And then the biconsonantal and the geminant. Be familiar with those, because your quiz this week is going to be vocabulary and your ability to classify weak verbal roots. I'm going to put out verbal roots, and you're going to have to tell me which position or which type of weak verb it is. So that's kind of, I guess, a giveaway for your test. There's not going to be any translation this week, just your vocabulary. And let's go over our vocabulary. It's on page 135. A call, to eat. Amar, to say. Halach, to go, to walk, or even to die or pass away. Haya, to be, become, happen, or occur. Yatzah, to go out, go forth, come out, come forth. Yashav, to sit down, to remain, to dwell, to inhabit. This is the word that's used in Psalm 1:1. Blessed is the man who does not yashav in the seat of the scornful. Nathan, to give, to put, to set. And we would say Nathan, and this is also a proper name. Nathan or Nathan means to give or gift. Asa, to do, make, or create. Ra'ah, to see, perceive, or understand. And Ra'ah is also a part of Jireh. We would say Jireh, but it's actually Yireh. It's Jehovah or Yahweh Yireh, literally translate the God who sees to it, or the God who provides, takes care of it. Shavath, to stop, cease, rest. Shama, to hear, listen, understand, or obey. Aron, ark, chest, or coffin. Mincha, gift, offering, or tribute. Shabbath, Sabbath or period of rest. Ach, only, surely, nevertheless. Al, no, not. Im, if, lo, no or not. And believe it or not, that's it for this week. And I hope you guys are doing well on your word studies, and I look forward to reading those when you're finished. God bless you.